So, also Einstein, he said, a human experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest. It's a kind of optical delusion of our consciousness. So our brain is playing a trick on us. It's creating the illusion that we are separate and that we are in control of ourselves. So what happens? We are all one. There's no difference between us. And the metaphor they often use is like everything is water, and we are just a drop in the water. Of course, we're not separate. But at the age of 1.5 years, the brain, for the first time, starts to create self-awareness. If you put a child in front of a mirror, then the child will recognize like there is something there, but it will not perceive like that image is me. There's no self-awareness. And when you're 1.5 years old, you start to believe that you are separate from the world. This cat also has no self-awareness. It has awareness, it sees something, it's aware, but not self-aware. It's not this image, it is me. It's like, it's amazing. If you have no self-awareness, you can entertain yourself the whole day. That would be great. This monkey also no self-awareness because it's attacking itself in the mirror. But gorillas and elephants and dolphins, they have self-awareness just like we do. So it recognizes itself in the mirror. And this test, if a child is 1.5 years old, you put something green on in the cheek, and its mom, there's something on my cheek. It's aware of itself. And also he is aware. The interesting thing for human beings and some animals is that we perceive ourselves as being separate after you're 1.5 years old. But then the struggle begins, because then the second thought is, if I am this, I have to be good enough. And most people are busy their whole lives by trying to be good enough, trying to get approval from others, trying to build an image, trying to get the power, the money, the fame, and etc. to prove you're good enough. Also with children, when they come into puberty, then this is really important. You have to have the right phone, the right scooter, and it's so important if you have enough Facebook friends and followers on Twitter. Your whole life is based around that. But then you grow up, and then if you feel really insecure, you try to find ways to get approval or to prove you're at least good enough. So some people, this is what I see in businesses, also in relationships, become dominant, because they're like, if I am dominant, I can prove everyone that I am good enough, this is me, my image, I'm important. So the whole day through they're screaming at the office, trying to suppress other people, trying to see conflicts and be someone. Other people, they start to please. They're afraid of the competition, they're afraid to have arguments, and they try to please everyone. And try to make the other one as comfortable as possible in a way that they're like, if I'm good enough for you, then please tell me that I am good enough. But this is really a big struggle in life. This is where a lot of suffering, a lot of struggling thoughts come up. And the second illusion we have, that we can control life. Of course, we are just one with everything, we just one energy at play. But the separate I thinks as a drop that it can steer the whole ocean. If it thinks positive, it can move the ocean to left and right. It's the idea. And you can get a Ferrari by visualizing, which is awesome. But I've never seen anyone driving around in a Ferrari. But you think you can control life. And that's a struggle, because also you've been walking around this planet just like me for quite a while now. And then you realize that whatever you plan is not what will happen. It always goes different, and there will always be new surprises, new relationships, new jobs, new circumstances, new people. You never know what's going to happen. But if you think you're in control and life is doing different things than what you think, people get frustrated. If you have someone who's identified and you start a conversation, they first bring up frustration. They tell you about their past and that such things should have been different, and then they start to blame other people, although they feel guilty about themselves that they could have done it differently. And also, if we look at the future, there is fear for what might be happening. A lot of people lie awake in the night, spinning around with fear and thoughts of what could be happening. But it's just thoughts, they're no use. But we think that in thoughts we can even control the whole thing. So if this circus starts, then you get a lot of stress. In Holland, we're all stressed out. 12% of our whole society has a burnout, is totally stressed. They're at home feeling sick. And 34% is emotionally unstable in Holland at the moment. And with students, it's 49% at the moment. So our whole society is like this American model, we're going insane. And I'm glad, because then I have so much work. But then people, they start to suffer. Because you feel depressed, you feel unhappy, you're not satisfied with life, you think you're not good enough, you think it should be different. And this is where the whole struggle of life actually stops. And because we feel so miserable, we try to get these miserable feelings away. And what do? We start to buy stuff. And then you go to the shop and you buy new shoes and you feel great for 2 hours. Because when you buy stuff, some endorphin is released and some dopamine, and you're like, and then it's back in 2 hours. So you buy a new car, and then 3 days. Or a new house, maybe a week. But no matter how much you achieve, how much you buy, you will never get rid of this whole circus. And if this doesn't work, we think, I need therapy, there's something wrong with me, and then you go to the therapist, and the therapist will think, you feel guilty about your past, and you talk about your past, and again in another session. But actually what you're doing, it's not a problem, it's also just happening, but you're trying to get rid of one cloud. And it might work, but at the next thing that pops up in your life, it's back. So you can go to therapy for 1,000 years and still miss the point, because you'll never get healed, because you're still in the illusion. And then if nothing works anymore, we think, I will become spiritual. And you start cleaning your chakras and your healing, which is all fine, by the way, there's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong. And what I see happening out in businesses, I see businessmen with huge egos. But in spirituality, I see people with spiritual egos. And they're even worse. Because with businessmen, their ego is solid. When I say, your ego, yes! I can push it. But a spiritual ego, it's like slippery like an eel. You cannot have a discussion with these people. It's all gone. They always have spiritual concepts and get out of it. So, also the people who walk out mad are mostly these people. Businessmen are like, I like my Ferrari and my second house. So that's easy. So what's non-duality pointing at is that this first idea is just an idea. It's not real. You're not separate. So if you think you're separate, this is happening, but this is just an idea. You are one with everything. You're not separate from life, and you are God itself. And if this insight starts to integrate, there's nothing you can do about it, because that's also just going automatically. If this happens, then there's a drop away of the whole circus and of the whole struggle. This is of course what we call enlightenment. There's just a silent mind being one with everything. And we experience this many times of the day, especially when you are asleep. In your deepest sleep, the self-awareness is turned up. You are not aware that you are a separate individual. It's great, sleeping is great. And then you wake up, and then for a moment you're like, oh. And then 3 seconds later, it's like, oh! And you go to work. But also during the day, many times of the day, this idea drops. For instance, if you are in flow, you're at work in flow, reading a book, having sex, doing sports, having a conversation, all these moments when you are in flow, the self-awareness in the brain is turned off. In flow there is awareness, but no self-awareness. So therefore, if you feel you're in flow, you feel totally relaxed and happy. And we experience this many times of the day. It's just like these 30-40% of the day where the self-awareness kicks in again. It's when the contraction and the tension starts. So if people ask me what is enlightenment, it's just your natural state of being in flow, which you experience the whole day actually. But when the self-awareness comes in, you think you're separate again, you think you have to be good enough, control life, and that's when the whole mind starts to spin and spin. So this is the difference between your dog and us. A dog has no self-awareness. It's pure enlightenment. It's aware, but it's not self-aware. So it's no struggle, no prefrontal cortex. It can't think. It's great.